Okay.
Ta-da.
All
Okay.
right. Well, Sue is going to give us some great tips on her photography and how to prepare for pictures. So the floor is yours, Sue.
All right. Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I want to just put a little caveat out. My baby sister is having her hip replaced this morning and she's in pre-op now. And so if you see any texts come up on my screen about getting fentanyl, we are, my sister is about to have her hip replaced and she's had fentanyl and now she's a little loopy. So she might talk about things. So just ignore that. There's no dangerous drug in my home.
Okay.
So, or in my sister's home.
Go ahead and make you a host, Sue.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's get that going. And we're recording for those who missed this. Okay, it says you're a host now.
Okay, great. So I'm Sue Ryan with Sue Ryan Photography, and I am one of the two people that is going to be doing headshot sessions for Mountain Women in Business. And the cost of those will be $75. My usual charge is $200. So it's a really great deal. Kristen is doing outdoor photography. I'm doing indoor. It can be formal headshot. It can be like more of an environmental in the area I'm working. I will be at the Bright Center. My dates are slightly different. My first date is May 22nd. That is a Monday from 10 to 2. My June date is June 26th. That is the Saturday from 10 to 2. So I'm going to talk today about how to dress for your headshot, how to make up for your headshot, just how to look good in your headshot. So I'm going to start to share my screen and get my presentation up. All right. Can everybody, well, hang on, I have to get my thing up here. There, can everybody see that? Yeah, okay. First of all, how to look good for your headshot. And most of this should apply for whether you're going to have your headshot done by Kristen or myself. This is pretty uniform information. How to look good for your headshot. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what not to do. And what some things that it depends. Okay, when you're going to have a headshot done, a professional headshot, the very first consideration is who is your audience? Someone in the same job may need a different headshot depending on who that audience is for. For instance, a neurosurgeon who is applying to be the head of the national board for neurosurgeons is going to dress very differently than if he is going to be on a brochure for his patients where he might be wearing his scrubs. So you pay attention to who your audience is. Is your intended audience your current employer if you're looking for a promotion? Is it for a potential employer if you're looking to change positions? Is it for your client or a potential client? All those are considerations because there might be different tweaks that you're going to use for any of those. And if you're going to have one for all, then you need to take all that into consideration. You're going to dress according to your industry. Like with the neurosurgeon example, you might dress differently in your industry depending on the purpose of the photo. But whether if you're a startup or an outdoor industry or a service industry like a personal trainer or a tech industry, that may be more of a casual vibe than if you are an attorney or if you're an insurance agent. That, what do people in your industry wear in general? And then you can kind of adjust from that starting point. And kind of a thing to keep in mind is how would you dress for a meeting with that potential audience that you're taking this photo for. So the neurosurgeon, if he's meeting for the board of this national group, is going to dress differently than if he's doing a pre-surgery education class for a group of people having brain surgery. He's going to dress slightly differently. So you're going to dress for your best day at work on the day that you're meeting your intended client. Anybody have any questions about any of that so far? Pretty straightforward. Most of this stuff really is pretty straightforward. Okay, so you know who you're wearing it for, but now it's what to wear. And along with that goes, what do you want to communicate? Now that you've decided who you're communicating to, now you need to decide what you want to communicate. So think about what you want to communicate in your picture, because these are millisecond snap judgments that people are going to make about you based on your photography or based on your photo. We all do it. We say we don't judge books by the cover, but we do because it's innate. So are you trying to communicate expertise in your field? Are you trying to communicate confidence, or maybe power, or maybe boldness, friendliness, openness, genuineness, honesty? So depending on both you and your business and who your audience is, think about, you know, like the two predominant things that you want to show through, and you're going to kind of choose clothing based on that. You're going to choose not only clothing that you're trying to communicate with, but also that is flattering. Now that seems like a no-brainer, but you might have an outfit that you love, that you love, that you love. But I would suggest have a couple options and have a friend over and just say, which is more flattering from here up? Or if you're going to be, maybe you're going to do a full branding session that might cost somebody $1,000 or something, you know, have someone look and say, which is most flattering within these parameters. So one thing you do want, regardless of your clothing choice, is you want it to be well-fitting, not baggy, not boxy. And that is especially for those of us who are curvier, because it translates in the photo as just kind of sloppy and kind of like your bathrobe. So especially for those of us who are curvy, you want it to be very well fitting. And if it conforms to your body some, that's fine. Because part of this is conveying confidence, even if that's not your top thing that you want to convey. But you want to convey confidence. And those of us who are curvier, you know, sometimes, at least I can vouch for, speaking sample size of one, sometimes I just kind of want to cover it up. But no, you are who you are, and you take up a space on this earth, and you're valuable. And the well-fitting clothes, maybe that show some of those curves, that's part of that confident who you are. So don't be afraid of that. Necklines, not too low. I have a couple examples at the end and we can talk about them. Very low necklines can communicate confidence, but it depends on the field, and showing cleavage can communicate as less professional. And we don't want that. If in doubt, like, this looks good, but is it too low? Yeah, it's too low then. Because when in doubt, don't do it. A moderate V-neck, say maybe down here, can help break up wide shoulders if you have wide shoulders. But be careful of necklines. And I do have a graphic that I'll show really safe ones, some kind of safe ones, and ones to kind of avoid. I need coffee. Okay, sleeves. Long, short, sleeveless. And I know, you know, a lot of us are going to be outside with Kristen. So there's weather considerations there too, but just this is a kind of a general guideline. Sleeveless communicates casual. So if you want a casual vibe, maybe you're a personal trainer and you want to actually show your upper arms, or you're in some other very casual business, that's fine. If you want to project confidence with sleeveless, it needs to be on a very simple, elegant dress that is stunning and probably out of my budget. But it can look nice, but generally speaking, sleeveless isn't the way to go depending on your profession. The other thing is sleeveless and short sleeves can accentuate if you have a heavier upper arm, because it's going to cut off either here and show all your upper arm, or if it cuts off here and shows the lower part of the upper arm, that is going to create a contrast point, and the eye is going to go from the fabric to where the skin is. It's going to notice that difference and it's going to go to that. So if you don't care for how your upper arms look, I would either go for a long short sleeve if you're only going to have a head and shoulder shot. Like these are actually short sleeves, but I chose a long short sleeve so I could show you. If it was a sleeve up to here, I wouldn't wear it because my arms are, 65 years old. So those are considerations. Short sleeves can be fine, especially if you're only going to have a head and shoulders. And if your arms are in nice shape, or you're confident about your arms, even if they're not in, super athletic shape, that's fine. If you're confident about your arms, short sleeves are fine. Long sleeve, the thing about long sleeve is it's safe. It's going to be flattering to your upper arms. And wherever the photo cuts, it's not going to have a contrast point. And it, the thing that's nice about long sleeves are when you're having a headshot done, you might have a headshot and you intend that your finished product will be like an 8x10. But with all the social media, it's going to get cropped. Your LinkedIn photo is going to be very different than your portfolio headshot on on a shareholder's brochure. So long sleeves, no matter how that picture gets cropped, you're not going to have an unfortunate cut in the photo with long sleeves. So that's just a consideration. Okay, colors. Now, the goal of these professional photos are to lead the viewer immediately to your face, your eyes, your smile. That's where people are going to make that millisecond decision whether they think they might be able to know you easily, like you, and trust you. So you really want your clothing to coordinate and enhance that communication, but it's secondary. You want the face of the viewer to go directly to your face. So first of all, again, this is pretty basic stuff. You're going to wear clothing in a color palette that looks good with your skin and hair, or if something that really makes your eyes pop, yes, by all means, wear those. They're going to look great. But beyond that, like, okay, do I wear something bold and bright? Do I wear something more muted? Do I wear something earth tones? That's going to go back to the communication. Generally, calmer colors and neutrals. And by neutrals, I don't mean just beige, white, and black. I mean, like a mid-earthy brown, or this is a purple. I would even call this a neutral. Just things that aren't fuchsia, neon green, yellow, orange, anything that's generally neutral, and a more calm, on the calm side of that color spectrum, is going to communicate connection. And it's going to allow the viewer to see the personality in your face because they're not looking at, whoa, that's a bright red shirt, beautiful shirt, but you keep looking at the shirt. So that's going to help people see who you are and help make a connection. Now, flip side, bold and vibrant colors can work if the goal is to stand out among other headshots. So if you're looking, if you have got your resumes all over the place and you know, people on LinkedIn are looking at you, or there are HR directors looking at resumes, you might consider wearing something that really pops, just so in the, you know, their job of slogging through all these resumes, something catches their eye. So use it mindfully, but it can work in those situations. And it's also more likely to be successful in creative or entrepreneurial fields where, you know, where a certain vibe that's maybe a little, I don't even want to say quirky, but unique personalities are kind of what people are looking for, versus professions where conservative dress is the norm. So that, you know, just be mindful of who your audience is. Now, black and white, Kristen and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Black and white, try to avoid them. There are caveats, or not caveats, there are exceptions. First of all, black and white are hard to photograph because the camera's sensor is dumb. It wants to make everything medium gray. So it really kind of messes with our exposures. If you have a group photo and everybody's wearing white, or everybody decides to wear black, it messes our sensor up and we have to make accommodations. Now, good photographers know how to make those accommodations, but it can, when we're pulling those things out in the finished product, sometimes it's hard to pull out texture in blacks because it just kind of goes to flat black. In white, there's so much contrast. You've got all this that's bright white, and then your skin. And again, it's contrast. Our eyes go to contrast. In our eyes, white makes things look bigger, brings things closer, and black recedes. So if you're wearing something all white, people are going to look at that white and their brain is going to be subconsciously paying more attention to the blob of white than your face. So black can work. It can look sophisticated. But again, if you do choose to wear black, you want to make sure you're not going to have a black background, because you can look, and I've seen it, you can look like a disembodied head. You don't want that. Flip side, if you go with white, and Kristen, pop in here if I'm misspeaking, but white against an outdoor background, I would usually kind of not recommend, because with all these colors are going to be, they're going to be bright, but they're going to be darker, and that white is just really going to stick out. White usually looks best if you've got either a mostly white background, like if the entire headshot is very high tone, high key, or if you're posed against an indoor interior with white walls and maybe a window with light streaming in so that it makes it very light in tone, the entire picture. And I actually have a sample of that. It can work, but when in doubt, I would avoid that.
It can work. I would just say cream or off-white.
Off-white, yes.
Better. Just blend the nature around you.
Because that's more like a neutral. Mm-hmm. So yes, well, white's a neutral too. But yes, creams are better than stark white. All right, any questions about that? Okay. What to avoid? To dress down. Now, this depends on your field. Now, we have people who have goat farms. You know, authenticity shows you might be in your farm clothes. That's perfect. But for those of us that have not an outdoor industry job, agricultural, creative, think about what you would work on or what you would wear on a regular day that you are on the top of your game. Wearing what you wear in your industry is fine. I'm thinking of our bakers. That's fine. Just make sure it's in good shape. I mean, you could totally have an apron or whatever it is that you bake in. That'd be totally fine. Just make sure that everything is in good shape. This is a big one. Heavy patterns and prints. I cannot stress this enough. Please, 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 please wear solid colors. Patterns and prints confuse the eye, and the viewer keeps looking at the patterns and not the face. It's all about contrast. White is very contrasty with our skin. Patterns and prints confuse our eye, and the viewer, even if they think they're looking at your face, have you ever seen like any video clips of eye movement? Even when you think you're looking at something, your eye is constantly scanning in a photo. So it's going to keep looking at those patterns, and anything that takes your eye away from your face is taking your eye away from your face, and you don't want that. So the other thing it can do is unintentionally, it can lead the eye to places you don't want them to go. I'm reminded of a teacher I had she had this dress and she really liked it. And it was cute. It was all these different international flags. Japan, white flag with a red circle was right here. So beware of anything that leads the eye where you don't want it to go. Tiny tone on tone prints are fine. But if you want to add interest, like if you have, your colors look good, it looks okay, but you're like, this is boring. If you want to add interest, using layering with a different texture is helpful, and that will pick up in the picture, but it won't be contrasty. So same color family is good. Using textures, if you want to do a dark purple and a slightly lighter purple, something like that, that's fine. Short, bright sleeves, we talked about that. Anything with a huge contrast in the arm is going to be a distraction away from your face. Another one is logos and pictures. Now, for a lot of industries, it's going to look really unprofessional. But even if you're in a profession that there are logos, if you're a personal trainer and you've got an Under Armour logo or a Nike logo or something like that, first of all, you're paying to advertise you. You're not paying to advertise another company. So you don't want them to look at you and get a Nike ad or whatever ad. Everything needs to be on you. And the other thing is, you don't know who in your audience might have a negative association with the company on the logo. So the example of Under Armour came to my mind, it just popped in my head, because I won't buy Under Armour. My husband doesn't mind, he does. But I mean, I saw a picture of an elephant hunt, or maybe it was a rhino hunt that Under Armour had sponsored, a bunch of rich, famous people, and they were all on this big game hunt, and they were there with their trophy elephant heads or their rhino heads or something. And I was just appalled. And it's like, well, I don't need to buy anything from Under Armour. Now, my husband, the fabric feels good and it's worth it to him and he buys it. But if I saw somebody with an Under Armour on their shirt and they were trying to market to personal training for me, I might make an unconscious decision to choose somebody else that I liked just as much based on this unconscious thing. So
Quick question, Sue.
Yes, ma'am.
What if, like, I have my own Rachel's Creations t-shirt
Oh,
And
that's,
I'm known for my colorful
okay.
over jacket or my sparkly hat. Is that all okay
If-
because I'm in a quirky industry, or
Yeah,
it doesn't look professional?
If that's part of your branding and it's your brand, yes, because you're doing face painting and pet sitting. You're gonna have, you know, most likely a very more casual vibe in your headshot than if you were an insurance salesperson. So that's part of your vibe. And in that case, no, that's fine. But I wouldn't, you know, don't advertise for some other clothing brand. You're advertising for Rachel's Creations. That's totally different because that actually fits your vibe. That's a great question.
Hey, Rachel, do you want me to bring Tula for your headshot sitting?
Yeah.
It's so funny. I would need two totally different things. I actually have a neutral picture that I use for both, or I specify what I send to people.
And
But
things
that'd
like
be
that-
awesome, man. I'd love to get all my clients just
Yeah,
piled
that
on
would
top
work.
of me for a picture sometime. I don't
She
think Sue or
photographs
Kristen
very
would
well.
appreciate that, but it'd be hilarious.
And things like a navy blue or a darker blue, I consider those a neutral. So it doesn't have to be tan beige like that. And the other thing is no shiny fabric. If you have a really nice top, but it's got a sheen, don't do that because it might reflect and it's distracting. Okay. Hair, makeup, and jewelry. The key is to look like yourself. Don't do anything that's going to make you look different than what in your headshot than what you really look like. Because if you show up for an in-person meeting and you look very different than your headshot, that can unconsciously, people are like, okay, who's that? And they don't look like their headshot. That can subconsciously communicate that you're a little bit deceptive or not exactly what you present. So just be mindful of that. Hair, don't photograph in a cut or a style that you wouldn't normally wear. I mean, certainly if you need a haircut, get a haircut a week or two before your photography. But don't change anything drastic. And for people that have long hair, don't put it completely back in a ponytail or like a French braid, because it can look like you have no hair. So if you have long hair, if you want to put some of it back, that's fine, but let some of it show so that it doesn't look like you don't have hair. One pro tip is that if you want to get rid of flyaways, and we photographers love it when we can get rid of flyaways because then we don't have to retouch them out. Use some eyebrow gel. It works better than hairspray. Get like one wand full of eyebrow gel, rub it on your hands, and just go like this very lightly. Very lightly. It works better than hairspray. But don't goop it on. Okay, makeup. Less is more. When in doubt, don't risk putting too much on. It's a lot easier if you look at your images and you feel like you don't have enough color. It's a lot easier for the photographer to add a little in retouching than if you have too much on and it just looks like too much. There's just not much. We're just kind of stuck with that. So don't do that. Nails, if you're going to be part of a branding session and you have maybe some 3/4 body shots or something like that, and your hands are going to be in the picture, or maybe you're going to have a picture, something, like this on a table, use a neutral light or no polish. Again, it's the bright and dark are going to make contrast, and people are going to keep going back to your nail colors. They might think your manicure is beautiful, but we don't want them going away from the entire communication. Okay, jewelry, minimal, and not, generally speaking, longer than collarbone, and there are exceptions. Okay, because remember how I talked about different social medias and different uses of your photo are going to crop them different. If you've got a beautiful long necklace, you don't want LinkedIn cutting it off. Even if the photographer makes sure that they've got it in there, it can still get cut off. So generally, I like to keep things above the neckline and make sure they're not at the neckline so they're not getting caught inside of it. So make sure that doesn't interfere. Spangly earrings can work if that's part of if that's a conscious decision. But it can produce actually like highlights, we call them spectral highlights, that are a big glare blob, and you really can't do anything with them in the photo. So if it's real spangly and shiny, you might want to rethink it, but it's a communication decision that you're going to make. And like people like Karen and our other people who are jewelry makers, this kind of goes along with what you're saying, Rachel. If you want to showcase your jewelry by wearing it, yes, do that. But make sure that it is against a very plain palette. So by all means, wear your jewelry, make sure you have a very plain clothing on top, and communicate with the photographer, because the photographer can make adjustments in the framing of the photograph to minimize the likelihood that it's going to get cut off. So we can work with that. Now, we can't guarantee, that it won't get cut off in your LinkedIn circle, but we can work with that and make more space around it. So when they're shrinking the picture in the social media, we can have a better chance of not cutting it off. So if you are going to wear something long, communicate with the photographer that you're trying to not have that get cut off. Okay, here are some guidelines for necklines for headshots. The top row are what's good. Again, not too low cut. I don't know who in the last century has worn a Peter Pan neckline, but beyond that, the other ones are pretty okay. The ones that can work for a neckline are the V-necks, the cowls. Turtlenecks can look really sharp, but they also can look seasonal. So if it's in the summer and you're wearing the turtleneck, it might look like a winter picture, even if it wasn't a winter picture. The not recommendeds are the deep scoop necks, anything with a deep neckline, anything with a big bow or a big ruffle. It's just fussy and busy and, again, distracting. So that I included that. So if you download the slides, you've got that. So I'm going to show you a quick few examples, and then we will wrap up. Okay, we talked about white and black. Okay, bad headshot number one. You can see number one that all the detail is lost in that black shirt. I don't know if that's two pieces or one piece. I can't tell. The other thing is, what did your eye go to on the picture with the black top? Cleavage. Yep. Don't do it. Now, again, the white was another caveat, but and this is the same model actually, but see how much better that V-neck looks like than that sweetheart neckline. That V-neck is pretty deep, but it looks nice, and it's white, but it's on a white background. So those are some caveats. And here are some busy pictures. Now, I just want you to take 2 seconds and just look at those pictures and show me, or tell me, just jump out there, unmute, show me where your eye, or tell me where your eye goes to in these pictures.
Right to the shirts.
Right to the shirts. In this,
Yeah.
the one
Right
in
to the patterns instead of the face.
Yep,
Yeah.
the one on the upper left, I keep going to her right shoulder, my left. And then the one in the middle, there's right at the lady's right armpit, right in front of it. I keep looking at that white blob. And then my eye goes up to her left, to my right. And there's something with like a little spiky thing. It looks like a pointy-eared dog. I keep looking at those. And then the lady on the right, I swear, I keep thinking she's got Looney Tunes on her red top. That the
Oh
one,
my God, how funny.
yeah, it looks like Daffy Duck there in the front. And I don't know who's the white and blue feet, but it looks like Looney Tunes to me. And I can't stop. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So,
That's
I mean,
funny.
do with her coloring, but don't choose that. Okay, so here are a couple of shots that I've done. Now, this lady needed a corporate shot. She works for a contractor for NASA. She works in the aerospace industry. She wanted headshots that were more contemporary, that showed a little bit more personality, but we're still professional. So she chose an indoor environmental portrait, and those are the ones that they're standing by the windows. Now, a lighter top actually would work with this, but that's an option. At the Bright Center, we do have a nice window, and I'm going to double check it for sure. But I think we can do those as well, because I did notice the window. Her boss wanted.
Do you like that has the shimmery outfit
It's a
on the
little.
red,
It is.
or the
It is a
shimmery's
little.
not so good?
It's a little bit shimmery. Yeah, you're right. I actually preferred the blue in this. You're right. So she had to do two kinds. She wanted one kind, her boss wanted another kind. She was trying to pull him into a little more contemporary. And he actually chose the upper right one, the Head and Shoulders, but it was his call. So, but even though that red one is a bit shimmery, you can see how less clutter around her face. You go more to her face, but you go more to her face in the blue one. So that's a good observation, Rachel. Okay, this is a totally different kind of indoor headshot. This is a total environmental headshot. Now we couldn't do these with ours, but this was in this lady's office. She's an artist, she is a social worker, she's got a PhD, and she lectures. And I don't know if any of you know Brené Brown, who's very famous with lecturing about shame and confidence and stuff, from a social work researcher. This lady is very similar to her. So she wanted the clutter because all of these things say things about her. So that was very intentional. And that was a natural light photo, just using a little bit of a reflector on the side. So
Her hair almost blends into the background, though.
it does almost blend into the background. That's right. That was her, but that was her choice of location, and that's, yeah, it does a little bit. So, but you can see her clothing is very simple. It portrays unpretentious, honest, not very one-on-one. I'm not up here and you're down here. And that was her communication. So that ends my presentation. If you want to schedule your portrait session as an indoor, and you do that with me, I've got the information at the bottom. And if you have any other questions, you can call me at this number. I see my 7 at the end is little, but that's my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
I actually have a couple questions. So with regard to the headshots, and I'm going to be doing the outdoor one with Kristen. Typically, how many different photos are included with the package?
I'll throw mine out there. You will get about 3 short list of about 3 that I think are the best, and you'll choose from those. But I'm going to let Kristen answer that, because we're working together, but we're doing our own. So Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, it will be the same 2 to 3 photos, just with, these smaller time slots. If you're interested, and I'm sure Sue will do the same, in more of a one-on-one session, we can talk about that. But because it's a discounted price, it's just 2 or 3 pictures.
Okay, and then we choose one from those.
Yeah, what my plan personally is to put them all up on the gallery, and then you will favor the one that you want to download.
Okay, gotcha. And if we want to choose more than one, then we can maybe just talk offline.
Yeah, there'll be additional purchase options.
Okay, yeah. So I'd like to kind of have a gallery to choose from that I can use for social media and stuff like that.
But a lot of people will ask for all of them, but no photographer is going to give you the stinkers. If we don't love it, you're not going to see it. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And the same with me. I will email them. I don't do, my website doesn't do a gallery, but I'll email them the short list, or I'll email you the short list. You pick the one you want. And if you want any additional retouching, I can't speak for Kristen. I do just a quick little pass of retouching, very light. But if you want more than that, then let me know what you like, and we can work that out. that's another thing I forgot to talk about. In your retouching, I'll ask women, how much skin softening do you want? And they'll say, all the softening. It's like, that makes you look like not you. And again, look within reason.
Not honest.
You need to look like you need to not look like you're plastic.
Plastic.
All right. Well, great
all I have.
info.
I have a quick question, if you
Yes.
don't mind, 1 sec. For these shots, should we plan on just one outfit or should we bring 1 or 2 shirts? What do you think?
For mine, you might be able to bring 2 shirts because I'm budgeting more time, I believe, than Kristen is, because I might have to adjust lights. You know, if we just decide to do a window versus a backdrop, I might take as long as 20 minutes. Kristen, I believe, is going shorter, and I'm going to let her answer that.
I'm doing 15-minute time slots. So if you want to bring an extra one, feel free to bring it and always try.
She will be outside, though.
Yeah. I won't have a changing room.
Depending on where you are, though, there is a bathroom at Flying J. It just
Yes.
depends how far off the beating path you're going.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check out the lighting, well, closer to May 20th because it
Like,
changes.
the light's going to change.
Okay. Wonderful information. Thank you, Sue.
You're
There
welcome.
was, you know, the whole flabby arm thing just speaks to me.
But you know what? Wear your proud flag, you know, go with it. If you, bless your heart. See, I shouldn't have said it that way, but that's my choice, and I should not have generalized.
Well, and
No.
if this makes you feel better, even somebody with thin arms in a tank top, if their
Yeah.
arm is positioned wrong, it's going to spread. So
Right.
like
Yeah,
I
right.
personally would also probably wear a long sleeve shirt unless
Right.
I knew what I'm going for is
Yeah.
different.
And
But
also,
Sue,
and the
you had
photographer,
said upper flabby arms, you didn't say, you know, upper heavy arms is what you said.
Right.
That was,
well, and two, the photographers, to help your confidence, the photographers can make adjustments in your arm position, your neck position. We can choose ways that are more flattering than less flattering, and we know how to do them.
the turn and down nose and look up.
Well,
We'll pose
it
you.
all depends. It all depends.
Okay, any other questions for everybody?
No, that was great.
All right, good. All right, well, great presentation. I'm really excited
you.
for everybody getting their pictures taken. I can't wait to see them all. So, Kate, thank you for hanging out with us in your car. I appreciate that. And so we have tons of events. Just get